pressure of Hilchas Nida. So there's a few questions that came up. I figured we'll cover it now. The two questions was, one question we'll deal with today and one next week in Metz Hashem. Is the first one is a man using a woman doctor the other way around. Male treating a female patient is the other way around. And the second Sheilos is about a handshake, a casual handshake for male and female. We'll deal with the first question today. Shulchan Aruch, look in the first Sheilos, Shulchan Aruch, the first paragraph, Shulchan Aruch, Yeredeis and Kuf Tzadikei Sif Tezvav. Shulchan Aruch says like this: Imu Choylev, the male is sick, the man is sick. Vein Lamishi Shamshenu, there's no one that will take care of him. Zulasa besides his wife. Muteris L'Shamshoi, she is allowed to take care of him. Rak Shetazor B'Yoysa, she should be very careful. Shetuchel, as much as she could. Lizor, to be careful. Ma'achotzas Ponov Yoda Veraglo. Thank you. To not do Achotzas Ponov, not to wash his face, hands, or legs, or do Atzos Amita Befonov. Because as we said, there are three things that a woman does for her husband that makes it special. She should try as much as she could. If she can, she can. She should try as much as she could. Weiter. Next Siv. Siv Tezayin. Isha Choyla V'Nida. A woman that's a Choyla and she's a Nida. Osa L'Bayla Ligaba. If she is a Nida, the husband's not allowed to touch her. Today L'Shamcha Kan L'Akim L'Ashkiva L'Samcha. He's not allowed to touch her. The Sephardi is very, sometimes you think the Sephardim of everything is cooler, but there's some things that, it's like the Rambam is all makel. But when you start looking at some things that are so machmer, you maybe not want to go with all the Rambam. So here is where one of the things where the Machaber is very machmer. The Sephardim are very machmer.
The Rambam holds it to a rice.
We'll get to one thing at a time. Agoa, yesh emrim dim ein lo mishim shamshana muter b'choil. The Rambam says that if she has no one to take care of her, he could. And the minig is to be makel if she needs it. Interesting that Advaz holds that when we say here there is or isn't someone around, means for free. But if you'd have to pay, that means that you don't have someone. It's not mechuyev for you to go out and spend money to pay. Okay, continue. Pashtus, yeah. Im baila roife. If her husband is a roife. Before I continue, when I gave a shir at night, this was not a time for pilpulim. Someone came running with a Gemara showing the opposite of what I said. With a Tromas Adeshin, that the Gemara says, you helped the fellow also, you brought him the Gemara, that the Gemara seems to say the opposite. The Gemara says, today, Lavdafka, we keep all those halachas, but the Gemara says when a woman or a man is avelis, so if she is an avelis, her husband could be with her, because we say if he's going to think to sleep with her, she will rebuff him, she'll push him off. But if it's the other way around, if he's an avel, we don't trust him. He's going to be mishamish anyway, even though he's an avelis. So it seems the opposite, because over here the Trumas Adeshin says that if he is sick, don't worry, nothing is going to happen. She touches him, she doesn't touch him. If he's sick, nothing's going to happen. But if she is sick, things are going to happen. Why? Because he'll be mefayas her, and she'll, even though she's sick, she'll give in and she'll allow him to do what he wants to do. Besides the fact if he's sick, lav dafke, he has the koyach gavra to do anything anyway. And if she is sick, she doesn't have to do anything. Okay, that's the second svara he says. So how do you reconcile these two gemaras? So you have to understand the difference of a man and a woman. If you're talking about physical agony or mental agony. A woman, a mental agony is very important. She's an avelis now, don't bother me right now. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm in the middle of avelis right now. Mm-hmm. And we trust the woman, she'll rebuff her husband. A man, he's an avelis shmelis. He wants to sleep with his wife. Again, in this physical pain, it's the opposite. Physical pain, if he is in physical pain, a kaddish. If she's in physical pain, okay, she's in big pain. He'll be mefayas her. And even though she's in pain, but since it's not a mental agony, it's physical agony, she'll allow him to sleep. Interessant. If she's in mental agony, she won't she's navelis. No, go away from here. But if she is in physical agony, she'll be Nespias. That's just the teva of the way men and women are. That's the way the poskim understand.
What you're saying is men are animals and women are not.
You said it, I didn't say that.
They say when a woman's pregnant, she begins to feel what a man feels when he has a cold.
If her husband is a doctor, also Lamashis Ladefik, he's not allowed to take her pulse. Yeah.
I
Sounds,
guess my wife's bull.
yeah.
I do it all the time.
Okay.
What's what happens though?
No.
Is that what I don't know?
No, you'll hear till the end.
Oh shoot.
Till the end.
Stay tuned.
Now it's good to be Ashkenazi. No, also the latest Svarde poskim will also make the Radvaz in Egypt, other or
okay.
the Beis Yosef was very machmer. Why? Because the Beis Yosef says like this. We'll talk about this in a minute. But Beis Yosef says as machloikis when it says lo tikravu lagalas ervi, you're not allowed to get close to arayis. So Chazal say it means not only not sleeping with an erva, but also not touching an erva, not kissing an erva, not getting close to an erva. And we'll learn about this more in detail and more of the gravy next week. But this negate to the handshake. But Azoy, that's what Chazal said. However, machloikis in Rambam and the Ramban, if that's deridaisa or not deridaisa. The Rambam says that's deridaisa. The Torah says don't get close to a woman which is an erva, which in other words, Eishes Ish, another man's wife, or your own wife while she's a nida. So it's a lav deridaisa. But the Rambam says no, that's all the Rabbanon. When the Torah says not to only to sleep, but to get close, to touch, to kiss, it's only the Rabbanon. Right. Not okay, it's the Rabbanon. So therefore, if the Ramban says if she's sick, the Rabbanon would not be because she's sick right now. But the Beis Yosef says according to the Rambam, maybe it's a bezaraya, the gila araya shvichas damim. The later poskim, Sfardi poskim like the Radva says it can't be. A man is with his wife in the house. He doesn't have any help, and she's in agony. She'll die. She'll die in agony, or she needs someone to pick her up. She can't get up from bed. Let her die in agony. How could you say such a thing that Advaz says? Impossible. It can't be. So Lepoil, the Sfardim are the Sfardim Lepoil Amekel, but in the Shulchan Aruch, the Beis Yosef seems to be Machmer. He seems to be Machmer, although it's not for sure. He doesn't say he's Machmer. And as Yasusi from Tzemach Tzedek, maybe he was not Machmer altogether. But let's read another two lines. The first paragraph, the last two lines. Hagoah.
But is it pikuach nefesh?
So the Beis Yosef says, "Who cares pikuach nefesh?" There's three mitzvahs that a person has to die for. Avodah zarah, gelarais, sheches damim.
So they're right. It's only for an adultery. Gelarais is adultery.
No, Abizrayu also.
The Beis Yosef has a very, very sharp thing over here. No. And the Sfardim don't go with this. But
So if it's a wife, it's because then he shouldn't treat it. He should just let her.
Yep. Hagoah, but lefi ma shekasafti, the noyegen heter. But we don't pass in the way. The Ramah doesn't pass in the way, and the Radvaz argues on this too. But lefi ma shekasafti, the noyegen heter im tzricha of the mishamish law. Based on what we said in the previous sif, that if she's sick and she needs her husband to pick her up or put her down or take her to the bathroom, v'chulu, that he's allowed to do it. Kol shekain the mutar lamashis law defect, for sure he's allowed to take her pulse. Kol shekain. But that's im ein roifa acher, if there is no other doctor, and yesh sakona b'chol, there's a sakona. Again, the Radvaz, what do you mean ein roifa acher? The Radvaz says it means that there isn't another doctor who will do it for you for the same price you'll do it for your wife. Tzemach Tzedek says a question. He says, if the din is the same, why is it that when she is sick, in order to put her in bed and pick her up, take her to the bathroom, we say there's only one condition. Is there someone else to help or not? If she has a sister, let the sister do it. If not, you do it. But when it comes to a doctor, we need two conditions. Number one, that there is no one else there to do it, and number two, that there's also sakona. Tzemach Tzedek answers. Look at the second paragraph. Tzemach Tzedek hik shalom eramola kima tzarichoda b'mishmash adefek tzarich tarti. V'tiritz, he answers, Nira li kima shesh kama sveikas bedavar. If he takes her pulse and think about 200 years ago, 400 years ago, ula lo yavchin b'cholya. Maybe he'll know what her sickness is, maybe not. Vim yavchin. Is he going to know what to heal her with? The Tayelis she'agia la mizeh, and the Tayelis from taking her pulse, rochek, who is very far. Al kein ein lahata el b'makom sakona, therefore you only mata b'makom sakona. From this teretz and Tzimtzum Tzedek, you have a brilliant chidush. That what happens if he knows, no, I know, if I'm going to take care of her now with my hands, I'm going to heal her. She needs a cream right now, she needs a band-aid, she needs a treatment, it's not the suffix. If I'm going to take her pulse, am I going to figure out no, I know what to do. Yeah. So then you only need one thing. Is there someone else to take care of it, or is there not someone else to take care of her? Now, as I said before, the Beis Yosef says, according to the Rambam, there's a problem over here. The Shach argues on the Beis Yosef. Next paragraph. Beis Yosef kosu shalafia Rambam loy tikrev legalos erves min hatoyre sabezerai de gilarais asveike is also. It's a suffix pekuach nefesh is also. And the Shach says no. He says, it's the third paragraph, lek isu deraisa. There is no isu deraisa ela kashoisa kein derech taiva v'chibas bia. We'll talk about this more to get into the depth of this next week. It's only when the Raisi, you're not allowed to touch a woman to kiss her if he's doing it in the way of taiva, because he wants to sleep with her. But if he's not doing it as a taiva, so that's nothing to do. The minik pashut is that there's Jewish doctors and they take the pulse of a woman. They touch their patients, things that are necessary for the fuah. And we see minig Yisrael Torah. No one ever argued and said that. So how could it be? So the Shach says it makes a difference. Why is he touching this woman? The Rambam says it's awesome in Torah if he is doing it out of a desire, out of lust. But if he's doing it as a technical thing, because he has to take the pulse, or he has to put on a cream in a place where there is a makkah, or he has to give a shot, v'chulu, so that's nothing. That's not what the Torah is talking about. That's not what the Torah is talking about. The Torah is not talking about that.
Today, they require that a woman, like a nurse, be in the same room.
Now we'll talk about this in a minute. This is about yichud question.
Yeah,
We'll
but
get
that's
to
required.
Huh?
Required today.
Huh?
Men doctor, I don't think it could be privately.
I don't think it's it's a requirement, or people are.
Today it's required.
It's not problem.
Right.
We'll get to it in a minute because
Major medical institution, a doctor has to have a nurse
right
there.
right.
Make sure.
We'll talk about it in a minute.
It's a Me Too thing.
Venirali. So I would say like this, but it's still, her husband still has the Hagbola, even though the Shach says that a doctor, if he's doing it not out of lust, so he's allowed to touch, there's no issue altogether. However, but if a doctor's a husband, it still has to be that there's no roifa acher. And there's a sakona b'cholya if it's to take the pulse, and if it's to heal her, it has to be at least ein roifa acher. Because the Shach says at the end, mekol mokem, be'ein sakona, if there is no sakona, osir l'bayla l'mashas b'defek, u'kedivri arav. Why is he saying that? So I'm thinking that this will answer that there's a question of the Torah Shlomim. Torah Shlomim says, Yoise yesh lochash b'ishtei nida b'bnei shali b'gaspo k'mesh kosu b'tshuvas arashbo alef kuf peches. What's the Rashba? There's a tshuva in the Rashba where he says the din is the Rashi said that you're not allowed, when a woman is a nida, you're not allowed to hand something into her hand. Rashi was nizir not to give the keys of his house to his wife in the days before she went to the mikvah. So, however, says the Rashba, we don't see that the person should be nizir with another woman. The average woman you meet, if she's not married, she's a nida, and if she is married, she's an eishes ish. So, what's the in between? Hardly anyone in between, right? So, if she's not married yet, she's a nida. Well, she's not going to the mikvah. Right. And if she's already married, she's an eishes ish. Right. So, how's it? Rashba says, how can we see when people go in Barcelona to go buy things, they hand a credit card to the woman and behind the desk?
Some people are machmer with it also.
Yeah.
But Big was machmer.
Why?
Sheilos, you have to put it down.
Why? How can we be machmer more than the poiskim and chazal?
I don't know. I'm just telling you what's going on.
How can we be machmer more than the poiskim? I think
Williamsburg Monroe now, no lady, they put money down.
I want to tell you my thought about this. That this could be a big takola, because then all of a sudden women can start thinking, Another man.
That's right.
But my own husband. But the emphasis Chazal's thinking was the opposite. Of another woman, chas v'shalom. How can a yid, from a yid, touch another woman? So if he's going to hand her a credit card, it's just he's doing business. So it's whatever. He gives a credit card, give it back. It's only with your own wife, which you're mutter to sleep with her. That's where Rashi said, based on the Tonat Ve'elio, that it's also lahoisha miyad liyad, and that's the Chuvas Rashba, and that's where all the poskim paskin. And it's a strange thing. I was in Yerushalayim with my wife.
I'm not sure.
What- yeah, Yerushalayim, what is
Strange
it?
that
One second. And my wife bought the stuff, and she asked me if I could go pay for it. So I went. Yeah, seven Geula over there, not next. So I came over, Lifitumi, and the woman says, "Put the credit card down."
See?
I tell you what, I because I knew my wife wants the merchandise, I could get folk Beatatala. But if it was something that I needed to buy, I would take the credit card, put it back
I
in
have
my
a better
pocket,
story
and walk
for
out
you
of the
as
store.
well.
Because why are we going to be more smart than the Rashba? The Rashba says that Rashi didn't give the keys to his wife because it was his wife.
Right.
But if it was his sister-in-law, he would give her the keys. Only his wife he didn't hand the keys when she's in Nida. Not the sister-in-law. Even though she's in Nida before she's married.
And my husband I heard yesterday, a guy was in Meir Shodim, and he wanted to exchange money, and he had English money with a picture of the queen. I said, I can't take it, it has a picture of a woman in it. I can't take it.
Some things you follow
Wait,
if they're wrong.
You want to take the
Yeah,
money?
it's true.
that's all the time. I mean, I deal a lot with Hasidic people. I'm going to Spring Valley today. I'm seeing 100 people there. It happens all the time. What do you? So if they don't want to take off their, the girls, right? Some of them don't want to take off their shoes or socks. Some of them are very, and I have to see their. I'm a foot doctor.
Other people.
How are you supposed to deal with it? I mean, you're supposed to tell them. Like, I'm asking a practical question.
I'll answer you right as we
Should
finish.
I
I
tell
want
them,
you to hear all the sides of it, and then I'll answer you.
like a lot of times I have to give them something,
Right.
And they don't want me. I can't give it to them, but I'm a doctor. I'm
Right.
allowed to give them something, but they're being
I
so
want you to
machmir that I can't. So I don't know what to do. I really don't.
I'll answer. I want to answer you at the end because I want you to hear all the sides over here. So the Torah Shlomim says, how could the Shach say such a thing, and how could the Shach compare and make the land flat? It's no difference between any woman and his wife, but it's not true. That's why the Shach, Knesset place answers anyway the question, but the Shach. That's why the Shach says at the end. Even though he holds that when a doctor with a woman there's no issue, so no issue. I'm looking at the encyclopedia of Dr. Scheinberger, at Halacha Refuah. He brings from in the Middle Ages, and befrat by religious people in Islam and by Christians, it was a very big thing that women have to be treated by women doctors, a man by man doctor. There's no woman doctor, let her die. Jews are not that way. Jews traditionally, like the Shach says, Minhag Yisrael, if a woman is sick and there's only a male doctor, or the other way around, we don't want playing games. Why? Because the Shach says, because the whole thing of Leitikrev Lagarilus Erva is when it's lustful. But if it's professional, he's a doctor.
Exactly.
So then the whole thing doesn't start. There's no issue. There's no issue. It's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. However, there is a second issue, and then I'll try to wrap it up. What Poskim say today. There's a second issue, which is yichud. If you're in the same room, so a lot of people quote Lamashal Poskim that are mekel, like Moshe or others that kilu. There are those that are mekel. There isn't anyone that's mekel like that, as if there is a. This issue of professionalism, because it's a professionalism, therefore you're allowed to touch, is only lagabe the issue of touching, but not lagabe yichud. There's many rayas in Shas that lagabe yichud, that such a thing, there's no such a thing that the person is touted in his business, it's professional. All these things don't exist for a yichud. So the yichud basically it comes down to that it has to be that according to the laws of yichud there is no problem. How would it be that there's no problem with the laws of yichud? So there's a lot of things. Just because
open the door, right?
So there could be a Pesach Pasuach L'Shus HaRabim, but it really has to be open. People can come in and out. Two men, just because the doctor has his nurse standing there, that doesn't make it halachically fine. One man and two women, it doesn't make it kosher. If the woman is his employee, befrat, and befroti is that the Gemara says that a person that has an asik with women is not allowed to be misyachid, and there is 7 pshitas in the Rishonim what they mean, and they could all be true. But the Rashi's pshat is that if he has an asik with women, then even with 5 women he can't be misyachid, because that's that type. Yeah.
The vice president is Machmer. Pence, he's Machmer. He doesn't go with a meeting with a woman unless he has his wife is there.
Well, he's very
They
frugal.
laughed at him, but he's right.
Yeah.
100% right.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Wow.
Vice president.
Wow. Wow.
Check it out.
Wow. Wow. So these are the 2 issues.
Other people got into trouble.
Yeah.
Zera frugal.
Yeah, he has a lichtig.
Zera feiner frugal.
Wow. Wow.
He looks like George Washington.
If he had,
I heard from my son, check it out. They
wow.
criticize it. He's fanatic, but he's 100% right.
Must be right.
100%. Mike Pence, he's right.
So before I continue, just in the Encyclopedia Halacha Refuah, he brings like this. In the 70s, they did a study throughout the entire United States of America. 80% of OBGYN said that they sleep with their patients.
What?
They did what?
18%.
18%?
This was in the 70s?
Yeah.
The 70s.
Yeah, 13% family
Forgot what
doctor
it's now.
and 12% internal medicine. Yeah. That was okay.
So what is it now?
No, Lav Dafka could be better now.
Yeah, much better. There's so many laws.
There's more awareness.
Yeah,
And there's so many witnesses everywhere.
yeah.
Cameras.
The camera.
Could be much better. However,
Security and also
They're
the.
not doing a rape.
no, chas v'shalom, consensual. Yeah.
consensual.
Yeah. So Lav Dafka much changed, but Lav Dafka got worse. But that's a very, very, very high number. So now.
And it's true because that's our stories, especially the night, especially the midnight shift, is where the activity starts to happen.
When was this?
So.
And by the way, what's bad about it is that sometimes they sleep with the patients too.
Right.
The patients will get up out of the bedroom and
Tzaddikim over there.
but it's all happening in the midnight shift.
Right. So okay.
What about
One in the morning, 2 in the morning, you never know.
So this is the reason why Poskim today, they don't cite this study, but they just, if you read some of the Poskim today, they're nervous about this. They say that when the Shach is talking about, like the Minchas Yitzchak has this thing, a kosher doctor, a apostle doctor, and a medium doctor. He said, when did the Shach say this thing, that Minat Torah, if it's professional, it's 100% mutter. That was in a time when doctors were professional. And he says, if you know a doctor who is a Yiddish Shemaim, and really he's a professional, so there's no issue. There's no issue. But if a doctor is not that way, so how could you? The whole heter of the shach is the whole shetet is because there's no taiva, but there are a lot of doctors are showing today. So how could you tell me such a kula? There's other reasons to be meko, especially if someone's sick and it's a sakona.
Who writes
So this is the Minchas Yitzchak writes it. He's not the only one. There's a long show of Minchas Yitzchak. Shevet Alevi holds that way. It's befrat, they're very. I don't know. I feel they don't have that much confidence in their people. But they say, oh, well, young woman, she's pregnant. And right away she runs to the doctor, and the doctor requires her exams and exams. Adein Sof, Adein Kate. The truth is somewhere. It was 2 weeks ago. There was some doctor in Manhattan. They just filed one of the women that's filing against this doctor. Her husband's now running. He's one of the people in the contest on the Democratic ticket to become so many of them. And she claims that this guy was making mishmushim. This guy without gloves and inappropriate ways. V'chulu. So that's why the poskim today say that when the shach was talking about the kula of the shach, we'll talk next week a kula of the radvaz. It's a little different, but that's what's a zakona. But the shach's kula was a blanket kula that the doctor is not. It's not a taiva. There's no taiva. But if you have a doctors that are rishoyim, so then how could you tell me the kula of the shach? So they say obviously, if there's any sakona, then whatever, a person is sakona, a person has to be treated. But if it's not a sakona, then you have to make sure if the doctor is a Yiddish Shamayim, so there's no issue. If the doctor has a reputation of being a Yiddish Shamayim, then there's a non-issue. But if a doctor is not in the Yiddish Shamayim, so then only if you're in sakona. If not sakona, you should go to the same gender.
So does it
I would
apply
say
to
within
goyim
it says.
also? Does it apply, if a goy there are goyim that have Yerush Shemayim. I mean,
So,
like pence.
yeah,
So
for
maybe
sure,
does it apply to
for
goyim
sure,
as well?
yeah, for sure. And what's if a Yid is not a Yiddish Shamayim?
Few going.
Then
Few going right now.
there are goyim that are Yiddish Shamayim, and there are Yidden, unfortunately, that are challenged on this scene.
Very
So that's the bottom line. It's interesting to see what the Rebbe writes about this. The Rebbe writes at the last two lines over here, two different letters I'm quoting. One is a husband's writing to the Rebbe that they're married for a short time. His wife is already nervous. She wants to go to a doctor. The Rebbe said, I would say you shouldn't go to a doctor. Don't worry. And it's Hashem, things will go good. But the Rebbe says, if your wife is nervous, don't hold her back from going to the doctor. She wants to go, let her go. And then apparently the guy wrote something else that she wants to go to a male doctor and he's not. So the Rebbe said, no, I'm sorry. Lo shamati she'akpidu minyan refuah al zeh. I never heard they should be makbid on a refuah not to go to a male doctor. And it's interesting. The Rebbe is sort of like in a blanket way. I never heard such a thing, that the Klal Yisrael should be makbid with the refuah not to go to a male doctor or a female doctor.
Maybe you should go with that. Maybe it solves all the problems.
It's interesting. The Rebbe doesn't say that. The poskim today say that nichud, that it's kedai the husband should go with her. However, if the office is a busy office and she's sandwiched middle of many patients and people come in, it depends which office. A lot of offices not shaykh yichud.
Sometimes the husband is not allowed to go with her. There'll be a time he's not allowed to see what the doctor sees.
Well, no, but he can sit in the side, turn his face.
Yeah, but it doesn't
He
mean
can
that
sit-
he
he
can
can-
enter in the room.
He can be in the room. He'll turn his face. Better than the. And the other thing that Rebbe writes, in a different letter, interesting thing. It's kedai to mishtadel that on women issues that there should be qualified women doctors for them. The Rebbe says two things. Noisem al tame atznius, besides more that there's a tznius issue, gam lo heisofa b'yeilus. The Rebbe has a long arichos. He says that it's hard for a male to understand OBGYN. But he never had a baby himself. Why does he understand a woman's issues? How could he connect?
Men doctors are more gentlemen.
Not true. Not true.
You don't think so?
Not true. The Rebbe thinks not that way. The Rebbe says he thinks that women on women issues would be better to treat women, but not lechatchila. If you're asking, the Rebbe says kedai to be mishtadel that there should be qualified women doctors to deal with this, but not always is that the case. Not always is that the case. Not always is that the
Majority
case.
in America is male.
Yeah. Right.
Plenty of very qualified OBGYNs who are men.
Huh?
There are many very qualified
Today there are also very qualified OBGYN that are women.
In other words, you have a vote.
And not only midwives, doctors, and not only doctors, but some of them have a very good name for themselves, and they're very good.
I've known a few.
Because there used to not be. Today you have besides midwives, if you need a doctor, that there are BYs.
There was a male doctor.
It's funny. My female cousins, they say it's
A lot of these OBGYNs is a male doctor.
Right. But today there are several groups that are women, and some of them are from women
I
even.
think the average woman probably more comfortable.
What about a Goyish doctor or Jewish?
my female cousins.
Whoever's a bigger Yiddish mind.
Let me ask you, I'm sure the Rabbi would say that the Ezra's Lashon thing is a very, with emergency, they only women now are doing
It says if they could be mishtadel at that, but I would say
I don't see why
within
people are
doctors
against
you have
You mean
to
that's all
grade. Huh?
I would think you can
Take them out of the house.
Put in your mirrors
Worry.
because if they're coming down your
Worry.
street, you would want your mirrors.
Take them out of the house.
It takes him out of the house.
Yes,
Rabbi,
I think that's part of the
When it
picture.
says
If they're doing Hatzalah calls,
But it's called if he doesn't
all
have,
hours
he
of the
doesn't
night, it
have
takes them out of the
a
house.
doctor. He doesn't have.
They may believe
The
somebody
women,
should
the
do
women
yeah.
also. There's a woman like so.
Yeah, but if it takes them out of their primary role to be in the house, then it's.
No, it's good. I think it's good.
I have no
I've
problem
never
with
seen
that.
anything like that.
Where if you lose it,
I have no problem with that.
They're working with women. They're working with women.
Yeah.
As I said, the Radvaz holds that way. I'm not sure everyone agrees. And also, again, we're talking about when there's special circumstances. The Radvaz has a taina.
If you're
He says if his wife, because the Radvaz, no, but it's not kosher. The Radvaz, there's a lot of opinions here. The Radvaz holds that a person, if his wife is sick, will not have a taiva for her. He says just like a person won't have a taiva to sleep with a person who is eine b'chaim.
Yeah.
So a person who's sick is like halfway eine b'chaim. A person. So not everyone agrees with the Radvaz thought, but that's why the Radvaz came with this conclusion.
That's not a taiva. We're not talking about taivas.
Oh, in the Gemara there's a story.
With Hordis.
That what? Hurdus. There's a story. Hurdus.
So with one of the Rabbi someone once came to Middle 11 maybe, and he was very depressed. After the Yechidus, he was depressed for a few days, and he was locked in the room. So he said every time someone comes to him with a certain thing that he needs a tikkun, so the way to be misakin is to find the doctors how he has
Spoken
that
about it
Rabbi
many times about it.
and over here he was searching and searching, so he couldn't find it. So he was very concerned. He couldn't find the Aveda of the guy. And by the end he found there's a Zak Chassidus and Mehatnisht. So Chassidim said that the Aveda was this guy, was Berlin Mason.
The middle of it,
Okay.
that's the story that I about the middle of it.
I just want to wrap it up. So, bottom line is, the strongest thing here is the shach, who says it's a difference if the touch is lustful or it's not. But as the person say today, it depends which type of doctor you're dealing with. If it's OBGYN and they're muhzik to have a psychiatrist, they're muhzik to have a bad chazaka. If you're talking about a dentist, a doctor, they have a good chazaka. Then within the doctors itself, within the professions, also there's doctors that are Yiddish Shemayim, and therefore they're reliable. And then there's the doctors that are totally not Yiddish Shemayim, and then there's in between. So a person has to judge based on that. Okay, next. Versteht sich, I mentioned this the other night. There's a woman came to our house the other night for a Shabbos meal. For a shliach, this is like a simcha. For us in Flatbush, the woman knocks on the door. She asks, "Could I park in your driveway?" So, when do you get such a thing? So she sat down at the table and she said that she lives here in Flatbush and she has a frum guy. She knows he's a Balchuva. This she knows that she's a Balchuva, and she once flying down the steps, and she called him. His name is Reuven. She said, "Reuven, come pick me up." So he came out and he said, "I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to pick up a woman." She wanted to know if that's kosher or not kosher. Obviously, she had a lot of opinions and tinus about this.
You say I mean, like the
Right.
You could.
drowning, the guy says I can't save you.
At a mice in bar park, a lady fell, nobody wanted to pick her up, so when I got to two
Yeah,
the news about it.
I don't know if you're allowed or not, but
Nobody
one
wants
thing
to-
you know definitely Mekayim is the mitzvah of Chilul Hashem.
It's not a mitzvah. It may not be a mitzvah.
Okay, next. There's a shaila that I get all the time. Women ask, it's brought that there's a minhag that women, before they get to mikveh, that they shouldn't go to the Beis HaChaim. So the question is, the women today, Lubavitch women, they want to go to the oil. I think, you're going to wait every month for this time, that. A frum woman is busy as for 20, 25 years, is between being pregnant and being, they're busy the entire time. So you're going to tell me a story with a yoldus and a nidin and this and a that. You want to go to the oil when they can go to the oil, not, and they're busy too. So, okay, obviously, the story is that they say one of the early years, someone asked by the Rebbe a question. It was, I think it was Cholamid. Someday it was Burden Shulchan that you don't go to Kvorim. And this is the story they tell, that the person asked the Rebbe, it was a Cholamid, and he was here from out of town. This was a year after, or 2 years after the Stalkus of the Frierdiker Rebbe. This year is 70 years since the Yortzat Elul of the Frierdiker Rebbe. So he asked the Rebbe, could he go to the Tzion HaKodesh, the oil? So the Rebbe said, depends why you're going. If you're going to Kivrei Tzadikim, says so Shulchan Aruch has brought the minhag not to go. But if you're going to the Rebbe, and Yaakov Avinu loy meis, and the Tzaddik is connected to his Talmidim and Chassidim, Elamai, he moved an address from 770 Eastern Parkway, he moved to somewhere in Francis Lewis Boulevard in Queens. So it's only a shinur in the address, that's why you're going, then you can go on Cholamaya too. So obviously that story
Well,
always...
don't go to the Ohel as a big Rabbi Cholamai with that idea. I'm not aware of that.
People go to
But not as a big Rabbi.
If you can go Matzah Shabbos,
Yeah.
okay. But sometimes a person's flying in, he has a big tzorah,
Yes.
and he's flying in, so they fly anytime. Okay, so let's now touch on this Shiloh. It's brought in Shtitzchei Tshuva, Kosu b'Sefer Chamudei Doniel. Nogu anoshim shalalelech lebeis hachayim l'spalim mimeni dosav, and ochanu, that the women have a minhag that they don't go to the Beis Hachayim in the Meim Nidus. That's what's brought in the Pischei Tshuva. So in the Sefer Shura Sheva Levit from Rav Oznan, this somebody has a beautiful word. He says, we find that Shulchan Aruch brings that in the days of Nidus, they don't go to shul. But in the days of Libun, the 7 days of counting, they do go to shul. But when it comes to not going to cemetery, they don't go until they go to the mikvah. Why? Why the two minhagim? Why is it Lagabi going to shul to daven only the days that of Nidus they don't go, but the days of Libun, the days of counting when she's clean, they do go even before she went to the mikvah. But the cemetery they wait till after they go to the mikvah. What's the difference? A beautiful for Rav Ozna, beautiful pshat. He said the fact that they don't go to shul, the minhag is because of mius, because the woman feels unclean, so she doesn't feel roy to go into a Beis HaKnesses. But cemetery has nothing to do with. It's a different thing. It's because there's tumas nida and there's tumas mace.
Right.
It's like for the Yiddish neshama to handle double tumah is like too much. Right. That's too much powerful a tumah. So that's what he says the reason for the minhag. Interesting thing. So based on this, I would say like this: look inside. I'm quoting here from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. Look 4 lines in the second Shaila. Shulchan Aruch Rabbeinu, Oira Chaim, Siman Pei Chesiv Beis. Very powerful thing. The Alter Rebbe writes like this: Noga Anoshim, Tohoru Prishas Be'atzman, Shaloi Lekonis LeBeis HaKnesses, V'loi Shaloi Lida Sefer Torah B'Shas Nedusan. The women have a minhag. It's a thing they accepted upon themselves as Tohoru Prishas, not to go to a shul, not to look at the Sefer Torah when they're nida. V'gam K'shemispal Ein Under V'fnei Chavesein, they're not to daven in front of their friends. Mishum Minhag V'Kovid Oisin Kain. It's an inyan of kovid to the Eibishter. It has nothing to do with that it's also to daven or anything. But in the days, the white days, in other words, the days they're not bleeding anymore, they're not the days after menstruation, the days that they're counting, the Shiva Nekiyim, from the first day of Slichas, a lot of people are going already to shul. Also, the women used to go to shul. Today also, so it's mutter for the woman to go to shul, even though they have a minhag not to. Why? Itzovin, that's a very interesting expression. It's a big itzovin.
Sadness.
Yeah, a big aggravation. I think that's a good word. It would be a big aggravation for them. So we don't want to aggravate the woman. So even though they took upon themselves a minhag not to go to shul in the days of nidus, but this would be an aggravation. That everyone's going to shul and slichas and she's not going. At Rosh Hashanah everyone's going to shul, she's not going. It's an unbelievable aggravation. The same thing, kol kayoytze bazeh, kagoyim. That's a similar thing. Shemasiyas b'noi bita, v'shiatzma yoledis. Shelcha mesakneses achadal shavuos. Say she's marrying off a son or daughter. She's not going to come Shabbos to shul. The viola, the chassan is getting an aliyah. The chassan is getting an aliyah. And they're throwing candies and it's exciting and everything. But she's not going.
And people will know that she's an
And besides, it's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable.
For sure she'll be upset.
So for sure she'll be upset. Or she had a baby and the minhag is when she feels better, they go to shul. And so she's going to feel upset, but till she's still a nida. Is muteres, she's allowed to go because it's Savan Gadol. I feel like nida even though she's still a nida.
We're not talking about Yemei Libu, we're talking about actually in nida.
Yes, actual, yes. Aval ispalul bebeisa to daven in her house, levorach kol habrachas, Frat Birchas Hamazon, Kiddush in a Torah, Chiyavas l'kol almas, no question. I chayv to daven, I chayv to make Kiddush Birchas Hamazon, I feel b'shas nedus, mashenoigim sh'la'atz, because Hashem b'shas nedus, sh'la'liga, b'sefer, ein minig ze'iker. And those that have the minig not to say Hashem's name in Day of Nidus, that's a mistake. That's not a minig, because she's chayiv to say Hashem's name. How could you say the minig can't push away the halacha that she's chayiv to do Birchas Hamazon or Kiddush? If she doesn't want to say Hashem's name, so Tishma Brachas Hamazon the Kiddush Macherim, she could hear from someone else and say Amen. But if there's no one else, she has no choice to Kaddish with the Varech Ba'atzma, and if she wants, she could do Belachash quietly. Kol Brachas Shechev Zman. But the overarching thing that we see from here is a few things. Number one, it's a minig Yisrael. What I want to say about Beis HaChaim is like this: if a woman wants to go to ask to daven by a tzaddik, kivrit tzaddik, so to say not to go, so it might be two reasons if she's a nida now. Number one, the double tumah. Number two, because mius. But so the answer for both things is like this: if you want to say that mius, but it's tzav godel. If the woman now wants to go to the oil, that means she has a request. It's important. It's a momentous day. It's a day of her birthday, or it's a day of her chveizvos, or it's a day that she has an unbelievable decision to make in life. And so she wants to go to Tzion HaKodesh to make a decision, ask for a brocha, or atzora. So how can you tell? If you can tell her not to go, it's a tzav godel, number one. And if you want to talk about double tumah, so kivrei tzaddikim are not metame, because tzaddikim are alive, and this is the word that the Rebbe said to this chassid. Tzaddikim ba'afim misasim rishoyim b'chayayim kruim esim, tzaddikim b'misasim kruim chayim. Although we spoke about this once, the Rebbe built the Tzion HaKodesh in a way that there should be zero questions for kohanim that they're allowed to go there, not relying on the, even though apiruchnis in yonim tzaddikim b'misasim kruim chayim, but there's still apinigla the Torah. So the Rebbe built it. Everything the way it was built, it was built that there should be zero shaila. Kohanim could go, no shaila, low shaila, nothing at all. All the letters that Rebbe wrote to the Rosh Yeshiva and Torah Vadas, it's published in Ashkafta the Rebbe, Rabbi Rivkin Ashkafta. The Rebbe back and forth. The Rebbe wrote him a whole plan how he's going to build the oil in the way. He built it for his father-in-law. He built it in a way that should be zero shailas for kohanim to go. So the wall and it's 10 tefachim and it's high and that's why there's no roof on top of it. It's built. It should be bulletproof. It should be halacha proof. And now they made the gates. The kohanim could go. There's no shaila. So therefore, if it's good for the kohanim, and we're talking halacha question. It's not a minute question. It's a halacha. When you don't play around. You see, even though the Rebbe was so gekocht in the Indian of tzaddikim and masasam kruim chayim, and that his father-in-law was alive, but when he built his tzion, he wasn't. He built it in a way that a pinigla you should be mutter to go without a shaila. If it's good for the kohanim, it's for sure good for the women. So mitzad the tumah, there's no issue because tzaddikim b'misasam kruim chayim, b'frat the way the Tzion HaKodesh is built. And the Rebbe himself built it. In other words, his plan. And mitzad the mius, it's tzav and godel, so it's no shaila that a woman is allowed to go. One more shaila, because we try to do 3 shailas. This is a shaila from Bobby. I can't believe it. When I got the shaila, I went to say the second yard site. So that was this past week, and because my grandmother still Baruch Hashem Tzalanga Yoren, she works in this organization called Free, and she runs the place. And she Shabbos she still makes the minyan shiyurim for women. Tzalanga Yoren, she's not a young woman, and she's going on very big numbers. And but she goes there every Shabbos, and she used to be secretary there every she did it free of charge. She used to answer the phone. She used to answer the phones, and she's not doing that so much, but she's getting a little older for it. So so she said, she asked me, she had a shaila, me and my brother. She said now she has a homemade. The emphasis, she was very strong. 2 years she was mamish like a young woman, but when her husband passed away, a little bit took a toll on her. So she's in her high 90s. So, but it's a long yonah. So now she has a aid that helps her, and so to help her eat, so she makes her smoothies, and it's like a chapta mardik shaila that the shiksa puts grapes into the smoothies. It's like a shaila for yayanesa. Right. I said, wow, how can it be that I eat? How could it be? You're giving an answer already. I didn't finish your shaila already.
grape soda. you make
One
yellow
second.
soda.
Her question was, is it
It's not
yain
yain.
nesach? Okay, so the answer is it's not for several reasons. Well, even if it was grape juice, if you say you have a squeezer today, you have juice in a squeezer. So if you taka, you have to be nizir. If a goy is squeezing, if the grapes, goy shouldn't put in grapes because then it gets squeezed and there's hamshocha. The juice comes out.
Right.
Even then, if there's a lot of fruits, you could say that since it's bottled, because yain nesach, it's very hard to be mevatel. But originally, there's not yain nesach yet. But just if they're going to put just grapes, there's a big problem. It's a problem of yain nesach. Don't drink that juice. But a smoothie, there's no amshacha. There's no amshacha here. It gets the chatzam. But the woman should think, Azayir Shemayim. And what should be the bracha? The bracha is by the Priya Eitz. The bracha is by the Priya Eitz.
It's not a shahakol because it's a drink.
For a smoothie?
It depends.
Yeah, I always
thought it would be
have
shahakol.
I have smoothies all the time.
No,
Because you can't identify the fruits.
you know what? Most smoothies are shahakal near bidvorei, and which smoothies are eitz we'll deal another time. Most smoothies are shahakal near bidvorei.
Well, it's totally liquid.
Most smoothies are shahakal near bidvorei.
Makes a puree.
But I have certain machshavas why certain smoothies might be eitz. But in the meantime,
If there's pieces
in
inside,
the meantime, the broch is shahak. You for sure don't go wrong.
Maybe we should have
if there's
smoothies that
pieces, yeah,
Sunday
make
morning
eggs,
to make
right?
a lot
I'm not other-
Yeah.
If there's pieces,
What do you think?
I don't know. Certain,
Like
but certain
smoothies?
fruits
Yeah?
today are.
Good.
Oh, you know what? The violet smoothies are shahakal near bidvorei.
till next time.
Yeah.
About the Kvivei Tzadikim,
Okay.
the Baal Haleshem, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see any
Yeah.
Baal, but the Baal Moshe Sternbuch brings it down. Kvivei Tzadikim have a Bechina of Eretz Yisrael.
He brings it like Abba the Minig about women.
No, I don't know. I remember he brings down that you go to Kvivei Tzadik, it's like you're going to Eretz Yisrael.
Therefore,
Interesting.
Who washed here?
So, in
I did.
America,
Yeah,
you're going
we have
to
three people?
These are going to That's interesting because the Rebbe said to those people that can go like Baimet Eretz Yisrael, they can go to my father-in-law. It's like going.
see?
It's interesting.
Baal Haleshem is very
Said
big.
Haleshem
You
is
know,
very big.
Yoshev's
Yeah.
grandfather.
Yeah, Yosef Zayda, exactly.
The Chavetz Chaim said we're lucky we could see him when he's alive.